The Toronto Maple Leafs just sent a terrifying message as following a massive win against the Ottawa Senators. We have a bunch of different Leafs updates to go over today, but also some interesting comments, not from the Toronto Maple Leafs side, but from the Senators side following the game, specifically regarding their coach that has fans absolutely fired up. And to break down exactly what that is and discuss how the Leafs just put the NHL, but most importantly, the Ottawa Senators on notice following a huge win. Before we get into all that, folks, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying the daily Leafs content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're going live after every single game. Electric stream yesterday. The atmosphere is fantastic. Darius, let's dive right into it. The Leafs last night won a massive game. It was a whooping from start to finish. It was just, they sent a serious message, and it's terrifying. And I want to start with a few different things in this game because we'll throw this out there to start the video off, but the game was fantastic. We know Scott Laughton played great. All these different players played fantastic, and it's really scary if you are a fan of the Senators right now. Of course, they're inexperienced, all these different things, but there were some penalties taken. They were undisciplined. I'll dive into your thoughts about the game here in a minute, but I want to start off with something that we saw that was very interesting, and it had me pretty fired up here, and of course, it came out late last night. I believe we're on stream when it initially dropped. Travis Green came out and said, I thought there were a couple calls where they did a good job selling. And I want to dive into this because it is the big storyline. Ottawa fans and Leaf fans are going at it on Twitter. There's a bunch of different things. You have Jay Rosehill coming out and responding to some Ottawa Twitter accounts. Regardless of that, I want to get your thoughts on this before I dive into it. Obviously, and no pun intended with the dive, it was a very great game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they were disciplined. The Ottawa Senators were not. Penalty calls were going both ways, but the reason this team is so scary is we saw the clear difference in play style, which led to disciplined play, disciplined style of hockey. And Travis Green comes out and says, hey, the reason our team lost is because the refs screwed us over and they were diving.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all respect to Travis Green, former Maple Leaf. He scored a big goal for the Leafs in Game 7 in 2002 against the Islanders, all of that stuff. Love Travis Green. But a quote like this, I think, sends the wrong message, first of all, to his own team. He came out after the game last night and said, we didn't do anything wrong. The other guys were diving, they were selling calls. That is not what happened. We all watched the same game. The Leafs made the Senators look like exactly what they are, a young and inexperienced team in the playoffs, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. This core group for the Senators, besides a couple guys like Claude Giroux, let's say, have not played in the playoffs. They don't have any playoff experience. I do expect them to get better and settle down a little bit. I do expect that. But in terms of this game, the message that you're sending through the media, I don't like it. And maybe that's what he was going for, right? For the Toronto Maple Leafs, the media, everybody to kind of be up in arms about it, but sends the wrong message, I think, to his team. And, they were very undisciplined. They were taking really dumb penalties against the Leafs, and the Leafs were standing their ground. They were playing physical and playing discipline. We've seen it through the playoffs so far to this point. You have to be disciplined. You're going to get killed if you're taking penalties. The power plays across the league have been unbelievable to start this year's playoffs. So the Leafs took full advantage of it. And the one thing that, and as you can see there from Berube, it looks like Leafs in 4 that he's putting up there. But, the one thing that lost the Leafs the series last year against the Bruins was a ton of your guys being out with injuries and whatnot. And B, the special teams lost you that series, right? They couldn't score on the power play. They were getting scored on when the other team was on the power, when the Bruins were on the power play. And coming into this series, so far, they've looked great on both. So really good news there. And again, I think the quote is utterly ridiculous from Travis Green. And he also said that, he thought that they won their 5-on-5 minutes. That's great. Nobody remembers that. The power plays, they're part of the game. Penalties are part of the game, so they have to get that under control if they have any hope against the Leafs. But the Leafs, again, I know it's just one game. They looked fantastic last night.
Yeah, and this is Craig Berube's response. Penalties are penalties. We were disciplined. We're going to keep being disciplined. And ultimately, we saw some, the only penalty I might give to Travis Green was the one against Tanev. Bit soft. It is right. What it is. Other than that, but there was penalties both ways. We saw John Tavares get cross-checked in the neck area, and then it get reduced. We saw a bunch of dirty plays. You saw some in the intro there. Regardless of that, that's not the reason you lost the game. But we will, digress a little bit. Actually, we won't, because we have another Travis Green comment before we wrap up. He also said, I don't know what the anecdotal numbers say, but I'm sure we were ahead in the 5-on-5. And I've been seeing this kind of narrative, a lot of it, how the Leafs got outplayed in the 5-on-5 because they got less shots than the Ottawa Senators. If you look at the advanced analytics, the Leafs outplayed the Senators according to the expected goals up until the third period. But obviously, they were up by so many goals, where they were playing kind of a less aggressive, fallback style of play, which is naturally going to happen, especially with these advanced analytics with expected goals. But regardless of that, like you mentioned, the Leafs played a better game. They drew more penalties. They were very disciplined. They didn't take many undisciplined penalties, a couple here and there. One of them was a pending penalty, which led to a goal on Simon Benoit on a high stick. But regardless of that, they were playing really good hockey, and they just look like the more disciplined team. And I think that that's what's scary about this team is from start to finish how much different they look compared to a Sheldon Keefe team. And not to throw shade against Sheldon Keefe, this seems like a Sheldon Keefe comment a little bit that we've seen in the past. And it's nice to be on the other side of that, I guess, coaching media debacle, especially following a 6-2 loss. And I think Ottawa's going to come back ready and a bit less nervous and ready to go. But I also think the Leafs are going to follow up that.
Yeah, again, it's one game. Let's keep everything in perspective. But they did look good. If they can string a couple of these together, the Leafs look good and they're in great shape in this series, right? And especially with comments like that coming from the other end. I do expect the Senators to watch tape between now and game 2 and settle things down a little bit. They did remind me of the Leafs from just last year, and we've seen Leaf teams that were very inexperienced against Washington, the Bruins, the first and the second time in this era, right? And then even last year, like I mentioned, in game 1, they were so amped up and trying to do so much that the Bruins just took advantage of it. The Leafs took dumb penalties, and then the Bruins, again, took advantage of it on the power play. The Leafs did exactly that to the Senators in this game. So what happened last year? The Leafs settled down in game 2. They took the win. So I do expect a response from the Senators. I absolutely do. I think they're going to be playing more with the puck instead of, trying to play the Leafs game, essentially. I think they're going to try and play their game plan a little bit more because they fed right into exactly what the Leafs wanted to do with their game last night. But again, there was a lot of aura for the Leafs last night between Craig Berube and some of the players, Max Domi, what he was doing, right? And a lot of the guys weren't feeding into any of the rough stuff. The Senators were trying to drag themselves into the fight, especially late there in the game with that scrum. Domi's throwing a couple shots, but he's not doing anything stupid. Same with OEL, right? Like throughout the game, like I really like the discipline from the Leafs, and they're not taking any retaliatory penalties. Like for them to restrain themselves all game like that was very impressive to me. And if they're able to do that for the rest of the series, Ottawa has no chance. So it's a great start for the Leafs. And the fact that the Senators played the way they did, and the comments from their coach tell me that if they don't have a strong second game where they are disciplined, they might roll over pretty quickly here to the Leafs, because this looks like a different Leafs team. It is only one game, but everything about them looked perfect last night. They look like a different team and a team that can go far in the playoffs.
And you have to answer tomorrow, obviously. Or, yeah, tomorrow. You have to answer on Tuesday. The games are so quick now. They play every other game. And a couple other things, looking at some of the stats here. Morgan O'Reilly's goals per game in the regular season, 0.1. Per game in the playoffs, 0.2. He's better in the playoffs offensively. Still some defensive issues and turnover issues as well. They also have 2 power play goals in game 1, and they scored 1 total in 7 games against the Bruins last. And I think they finished with 3 power play goals once it was all said and done, I believe. Yeah. So it ended up being even more than that. And that was, of course, at the time from James Merrill or Jonas Siegel, as he tweeted. A couple other things here. I want to get, this is from the Sens side, from Brady Tkachuk on the booing. And, of course, the Brady Sucks chant. It wasn't even booing. It was Brady Sucks. I guess I expected it. Couldn't care less. I don't really care, to be honest. It's not going to affect me. Honestly, new game Tuesday. Fair mentality to have. And there wasn't many quotes, too many from the Leafs players after the game. But, of course, here, it's not as bad as you think now that you got the first one done. And, obviously, Omar kind of sending a message to the his team. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be wild, and hopefully the Leafs take care of business. And one final note, Craig Berube, Leafs in 4. He didn't want to comment after the game about the John Tavares cross-check. He basically just said, I don't decide that. I have no impact on that. Let's just move on and win another game, which is fantastic mindset. The opposite of Sheldon Keefe, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know down below if you're as excited as we are. The Leafs are on a roll, and we'll see you guys in another video.